Today I'm speaking to Chris Casper, former Man United and Reading footballer. How's it going, Chris? You okay?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Danny. Yeah, you?
Yeah, all good, thank you. And like we said just off air a minute ago, I appreciate your time. I know you're really busy, and we'll obviously jump into that shortly. So if you want to just let everyone know kind of how's life for you at the moment, what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, so I'm the sporting director at Salford City. I've been there for 5 years, just over 5 years now. Kind of seen the club transition from part-time to full-time. We've had 2 promotions, 2 wins at Wembley, and we're currently 1 point outside the playoffs in League Two. So yeah, we're got our fingers crossed tonight. Don't normally want other teams to lose and things like that, but to do us a favour, there's 1 or 2 games tonight that, if they do go our way, will be good for us. So fingers crossed.
Awesome. Yeah, I understand where you're coming from that perspective, and obviously hope things go well. I mean, I have followed the show. Obviously, over the last few years, there's been various different series of the show that have been on TV, and really insightful. And a couple of players I've come across either in teams I played for or against. So people like Danny Webber and stuff like that, which is, I find the show really interesting. And obviously, you mentioned there that you're in kind of potential playoff positions and things like that, and you're in League Two at the moment. Massive progression on an annual basis. So how has that been for you? Because obviously I've watched the show and I've seen elements of it, and you've kind of portrayed elements of the transition and what you do within the club and the ins and outs of kind of running a business and stuff from a club perspective. So how has that been from you? Because obviously you said you've been there kind of 5 or 6 years now. And obviously at that point when you kind of joined, it wasn't where it is at the moment. So how's that kind of step up each year on year or season on season for you been?
Yeah, I mean, in my previous role at the Premier League, we had a kind of a similar situation where we developed the EPPP, so the Elite Player Performance Plan. So we transitioned the academy system in the country, and it was quite similar principles really. That we were taking something that obviously with the academy system that we felt needed to be kind of rebooted, kind of turbocharged really to help, the young players in the country, to give them all the support that they needed and the coaches that they needed, and the academies obviously ultimately to be able to, to develop young players for the Premier League and for the national team as well. So it was a massive transition. And this was a little bit the same, really, that you're taking a club, a part-time club, a non-league club that's never played in the Football League, who, when I went, were in Tier 6, but when the lads went in, the owners went in, were in Tier 8. So you're taking a club with 30 season ticket holders, and in 3 or 4 years transitioning it into a League Two club with a brand new a ground still at Moor Lane, but a brand new stadium. Obviously new players, an academy, a B team, a ladies team, and everything else that goes with it. Obviously, with regard to sports science, video analysis, psychology. So it was quite similar really, because the situations that you found yourself in with at the Premier League, and there was a little bit of angst, there was a little bit of uncertainty, and people don't like change. And it was a little bit the same with Salford. Some people wanted to stay part-time, but to move the club forward and to move the academy system forward like we did at the Premier League, you have to have a vision. You have to have big ideas that you kind of at times not so much trying to sell to people, but you're convincing them really that this is the right way to go. And like I say, people don't like change, but there was a massive change in the system, and there was a big change at our club as well.
That's amazing, and obviously great progress and great success along the way, and long may that continue. Obviously, I know about your career to a certain degree, and I know it kind of all started at Man United, and we'll touch on that later on. But talk to me about your transition and your retirement out of the game. How was that process for you?
So I got injured when I was 24 playing for Reading, Boxing Day '99. That date's etched in my mind, so to speak. So, and 2 years later, I tried to recover from the injury, but I was still needing operations. And I kind of one day, it was just in training, and there was, I say it was 2 years since the injury, just over 2 years, and there was no conviction with. I was just warming up actually, and there was just nothing. I'd lost my self-esteem. I'd lost my confidence. I needed another operation. Kind of kidding myself really. And when I was rehabbing from the injury, I was waiting for my bones to knit basically, and so I was just using the local gym, training on my own, and also I was using I was living near Bath University, so I was using their gym there. And the guy who was the head of sport, the sports director there, Jed Roddy, who I went on to work for at the Premier League. I got talking to Jed, and he ran the Team Bath team. He was a manager of that, and also obviously the university teams. So I went straight into coaching. I'd started to do my coaching badges when I was at United. It was the old prelim badge then, the old FA prelim badge. And I quickly got onto the level 2, UEFA level 2, level 3. And then I moved back up to the Northwest when I was 28. So I coached at the university and Team Bath for 18 months. Did a lot of coaching there, coaching, like I said, the B team, the university B team, the A team, and Team Bath. So, I was new to coaching, but I was getting a lot of experience whilst I was learning as well, which was great for me. Working alongside Jed and another really good coach called Paul Tisdale, who obviously went on to have a good management career as well. So when I was 28, I came to live back up the Northwest, and was fortunate to get the youth team job at Bury. And then 2 years later, the manager got sacked at Bury, and I was asked to take over in a caretaker role, and did quite well really, and was offered the first team job. So I was there for 2.5 years as the first team manager there, and might have coached it, might have managed against you actually, Danny, when you were at Boston, I think.
Probably 04, 06 I was there, so sounds about right.
Yeah. So I was there 2005 to 2008. So we'll probably come across each other at some stage. But so that was my transition really from being a player to go straight into coaching and into management.
Wow, interesting. And obviously that sounds great, because obviously you've achieved a lot during that space of time, and obviously congratulations for that. But in terms of like the thought process, kind of how did you process understanding that, okay, well, potentially I'm going to have to hang up my boots and then now look for another job? Did you get any help from anyone, like ex-teammates or family members or organisations at all?
Well, quite ironically, really, my dad had been through the same situation. My dad was a player for Burnley in the 60s and 70s when Burnley were, well, they're obviously a Premier League club now, but they were one of the top 10 clubs in the country. And my dad was pretty brutally fouled off Norman Hunter playing against Leeds, and had a bad cruciate knee injury. And in those days, cruciate knee injuries were normally pretty much career ending. So my dad was a couple of years older than me, but he went straight into coaching and managing as well at Burnley. So it was kind of like, that's all I'd known really. Even when I was a kid, like I say, growing up, every day was you were kind of in the football environment, in the culture, in the house. Every Saturday was game day, and Tuesday night, if you were lucky to go to a game as well. But there was football near enough every day in our house, and that was the culture and the environment that I was brought up in. So it wasn't something that when I was 14, I was given I signed a 6-year contract at United. So when I went to see the careers officer at school, even though I was okay at school, I always did my work. But I went to a sporty school in the middle of Burnley, which was a tough school, but a really good school full of good teachers and good people. And always on the proviso that if you did your work, then you'd get given special dispensation to go and play in the school team and the town team and play cricket and football.
Yeah.
So my schoolwork always came first, and made sure I did that, and then I could go and enjoy myself. So that was kind of like how I grew up, really, in the football environment. And so when it come to think about doing a different career or doing something different, it never really crossed my mind, because, like I said, I'd already started doing my coaching badges when I was 18, 19 at United. And I was always interested in it. When, having watched my dad be a coach and a manager, it was kind of, it was a natural transition really for me to go straight into coaching, and something that I really enjoyed doing.
Sure. And then going back to, I say our day, because we're kind of similar ages. So I always remember conversations around kind of retirement and transitioning from football to another career as seen as a bit of a negative from the person who's maybe asking a question, and also the person who's in the situation, the athlete. So for me, like, what are your thoughts on how we should approach, or how athletes, let's call it footballers, should approach retirement? Do you think it should be approached in a different way? So what I mean by that is, obviously we know about all the perils, the highs and lows of going through that situation. Sometimes it's out of our hands. It could be through injury, like yourself, or just because you want to, like I did. I always see that after sport, there's so much life to live, depending on obviously your age. But let's say around 35, ballpark kind of age. There's so much life to live, and there's so much kind of so many things you can do after that. Rather than seeing it as like retirement and it's final and that's the end. But what are your thoughts on kind of approaching it at kind of from a different perspective?
I think it can be a subject that isn't easily spoken about, is retirement. I think it should be, maybe you could call it something different, but it's the same principle. Whatever way you look at it, it's actually when you finish your career. I think it should be put on the table and spoken about very early on in an athlete's career. My son's at Burnley. He's a 16. He's just turned 17. He's in the under 18s. He's been there for 5 years. And the realism is that it's going to be very, very difficult to make a career out of the game. So you're already thinking, he's educationally, he's very good. And he's seen what obviously I've been through, and understands that it's a perilous career at times, and an unforgiving one, and it's down to some people's opinions. It can be down to some luck or some bad luck or whatever. And if you do, manage to get a professional contract, I think it's still something that should be spoken about, because ultimately, like you said there, you made the decision to retire. I did, for different reasons, but that day will come. And then it's a matter of, well, what you're going to do. I went straight into it because I was fortunate that I was training at the university, and just seemed a natural thing for me to do. And I was offered some work there, which was great. But
yeah.
I think you need to have a plan on what you're going to do, because it does seem that, in some ways that people do struggle, and I think some people might struggle to understand this, but people, if they've had outstanding careers, earned a lot of money, but when they do retire, then they do struggle. I think it's a bit different these days with, the education that people get, the advice that they get, and I think it's down to, I think, I never thought I'd hear myself saying this, but, a good agent and an advisor, my son's fortunate that, I've been in the game 30 odd years, so kind of offer him that advice, but if you're in the game and you've not got someone like myself who's, sitting alongside you, then you need that advice. And, you'd like to think now that players that are making a career in the game and making, decent money, that they're advised to invest it wisely. But even so, you could, at the end of the day, you could live, comfortably off the back of a football career, probably not have to work again, but you come to 35, 36, and I suppose there's only so many games of golf you can play, so many, holidays you can go on, things like that. And you've got to do something that kind of interests you and excites you. And so I think thinking about it from an early age, I think is really important. You've got to focus on your career and do everything you can to be successful in your career. But you do have to be realistic as well and say, well, the day will come and it could come at any time. What's my plan? What am I going to do in the future? So I think being realistic about it, being honest, being open, having good people around you who can advise you in the right ways, very, very important.
Definitely, and that's great advice, especially for anyone who's kind of in that situation where they're kind of thinking about what to do next, at whatever stage in their career. That's vital advice. We touched on it earlier, kind of everything started for you at Man United when you were younger. So talk to me about kind of being at United. Obviously, we know it seems like Salford are very well managed from the top down. And I always think with any organisation, it starts from the top down. And obviously, you're all kind of tight-knit group. You all kind of came through the Man United system at the same time. So you've got the likes of Gary Neville and Phil, his brother, and obviously everyone else that we've seen on the show as well. So talk to me about kind of growing up in the youth team and going through the kind of different stages as you do in the youth team with those players and kind of how you felt playing for Man United and obviously under the tutelage of Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, so like I say, I was 14. I signed a schoolboy contract. So I started full time when I was 16 in 1991 with a group of lads who I knew a little bit, but I wasn't particularly close with anybody. Some of them were good friends because they played for the B team quite a lot and played for the Sunday League, same Sunday League team, about 4 or 5 of them. And so July 1991, we get thrown together. There's a Cockney lad in there, David Beckham. There's a Welsh lad in there, Robbie Savage. There's an Irish lad, Keith Gillespie. Local lads, Gary and Paul Scholes and John O'Kane and people. So Nicky Butt, we're all from, different areas, I suppose, but we all just got thrown together and, nothing to suggest that was a special group of players. As the season went on, we started to have a good run in the Youth Cup, and then we got through to the semi-final. And Tottenham were probably the best team in the competition, but we had probably the best player in the competition in Ryan Giggs. And we had a young team, but with Ryan in the semi-final in the first leg at Old Trafford, we beat Tottenham 3-0, and Ryan was playing regular in the first team then, even though he was still only 17. And then we beat Tottenham 2-1 down there. And then in the final against Crystal Palace, 92, we beat them 3-1 down at Selhurst Park, and Ryan played in the return game at Old Trafford, and we beat them. We beat them 3-1 down there and beat them 3-2 at Old Trafford. So that was the start of it, really. And then the second year, we were playing in the old A team, which was an open age group, and we were just, beating everybody really. And we'd got the confidence, and we'd got started to get the physicality and that, and it worked. What worked for us was the European rule. So in '93, when we won the league, we went into the Champions League, or the European Cup as it was then. And there was the 5 foreign rule, where you could only have 5 foreigners in your squad of, I think it was 16 at the time, your match day squad. But the foreigners included anybody from outside of England. So Brian McClare from Scotland and Ryan from Wales. And obviously, further afield, Eric Cantona, Andrei Kanchelskis, and Peter Schmeichel. So we had to be involved in those squads. So it kind of, really pushed us forward very, very quickly, because there wasn't that many other younger English players in the club, the younger players. So we were forced to be part of the squad, and it really rocketed us really and progressed us very, very quickly. So we were fortunate in that way that that rule was in, which the manager had to involve us with first team training, involve us with the European games and things like that. So that was brilliant. That, and obviously on the back of that, then 94, I'm in my first team debut, and he played a load of young lads against Port Vale in the Coca-Cola Cup, and he got a lot of criticism, the manager, for people saying he was devaluing it, but we beat Port Vale, but over both legs. And it was an opportunity for young lads, 18, 19-year-old, to experience, the intensity of a first team game. Yeah. Port Vale, obviously, big established club as well for that, for the league that we're in, League One that they were in. Got great fans, and came to Old Trafford with 6,000 or 7,000 fans, and you've got to perform. So great experience for us, and that kick-started us, and that was where the opportunities came from, really.
It's amazing, and I guess the rest is history, as we've all kind of read and heard about on TV and stuff. So that's amazing. Obviously, during that period, you've kind of pulled on the shirt for England and the 18s and then the 21. So how was it like kind of pulling on the shirt for England at that age, and obviously playing with those players of that caliber?
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting, because you beat United and you were training with some really top players, but then you'd go away with England, and it was every player was a top player. You look at the European Championship final, and I was fortunate leading up to the game that I was captain of the team, and then Darren Caskey was the under 19s captain, but he was still only an under 18 was Darren, but he was playing regular for the first team, Tottenham's first team. So Darren was the captain for the championships. I was vice captain. But you'd go away with England, and you got the likes of Robbie Fowler, Sol Campbell, the Leeds lads. To be fair, they were all playing regular first team at the time. They'd been pushed forward as well really quick. Kevin Sharp, Mark Tinkler, Jamie Forrester. So we had a really, really top team. So you'd come back from England full of confidence, and like I say, we were fortunate enough to win the Euros in '93, and again it was a great experience, because every game was live on Sky. We beat some top teams. We beat France, Holland, Spain to get to the final, and then we played Turkey in front of 30,000 at Notts Forest, and it was absolutely packed. The game got put back for 45 minutes, I think, because I think they only opened one stand. They didn't expect the level of interest that they got, and it was absolutely rammed. So, and we managed to beat them 1-0. Who were a really good team, tough team to play against. So again, great experiences and exposure. Like I said, playing live on Sky and having that pressure to perform was brilliant, and again, part of your learning.
Amazing stuff. And just going back slightly, obviously you're working at Salford, the football club. So talk to me about your typical day, because not everyone kind of knows. I mean, I don't. I know a little bit about it, but I don't know kind of the typical day of someone that does what you do.
Yeah, so I mean, to explain the role really, the role is to oversee all the football aspect of the club. That's from, we've got 4 different teams, so to speak. So we've got the first team, men's first team, the B team, the academy, which is the 17s and 18s, and the ladies team. So the owners have a philosophy and how they want to do things. We have obviously targets and a vision that we want to achieve. And the sporting director's there really to implement that and help implement that on the football side of things. So your recruitment of your managers, very important. Your recruitment of your performance staff, your sports scientists, because we want to play high tempo, so players have got to be fit. And obviously the recruitment of players, because in some ways the sporting director's role can be a bit confused with a head of scouting or head of recruitment role. And I think some people think that, the technical director or the sporting director, that's their job and that's it, is to recruit the players. Well, that's not their job. That's only a part of this, sometimes even a small part of the job, is to make sure that all the other aspects of the club is developing, and the staff have got the help and the support that they need to be able to do their jobs as well as they can. And with that, then should come success. It's all right saying, yeah, we want to win the league and we want to be in the Premier League in 5 years. That's not something that I would ever say. I think for me, my role on a day-to-day basis is to make sure all those staff, we're a different split site at the minute with the training ground. So I'll, so obviously go and see the first team manager every day, see how he is, speak to the staff, check on the injury situation, check on the sports scientist, see how he is, get over to see the B team lads when I can in the academy to make sure that they're okay, and they're see how they're performing as well, and see, again, it's a help and support role really, to make sure that they've got everything that they need to fulfill their role as well as possible. And then so all the departments are performing to as high a level as possible, and ultimately that's what the role is about.
Awesome, sounds interesting. And just to kind of bring things to a close, have you got any advice to kind of any footballers out there or athletes in general at whatever stage they're at within their career regarding transitioning from sport and what they can do to assist that particular process?
Yeah, I think, and I'm not just saying it just because I've just completed the sporting directorship masters at Salford, the VSI course, and I think further education is very, very important. I know quite a few footballers are doing the coaching badges, which I think is very, very good. And I think it's, those kind of people that they're obviously thinking about their further career. But it might be something different that interests you. And I think a career that, once you have finished the sport, as an athlete or, if you're a footballer, whatever sport that you're in, you've got to do something that interests you and actually excites you and fascinates you. There's no point going to something just because people think that you should go into it, just because you've been a footballer. You don't mean to say that you're going to be a coach or a manager. It might be something different. It might be property development. It might be a different business. It might be a landscape gardener. It might be a teacher. It might be education. It might be, it might be the military, or there's loads of unbelievable careers out there. And I think the transferable skills from being a footballer to another career, I think are very, very, they are clear, because to have a successful career, and by a successful career I mean a happy career, I suppose, something that you enjoy doing. Having been a footballer or being an athlete, you do have to have a level of discipline. You have to have a standard of behaviour. You have to have a routine. You have to have discipline, like I say. And no matter what business that you go into and what way of life you're going to, those values that kind of we were fortunate that we had a leader at United who instilled those into you in Sir Alex Ferguson. And it's interesting when you look at, just take our group of players, for example, in that Youth Cup winning team, that some went obviously on to have unbelievable careers for United. Some went on to have really good careers in football elsewhere. But others went on to have good careers in property development, the police, and other different areas, and different business. And it comes from, it came from having those values and standards instilled in you by Sir Alex every day, and the coaches, Brian Kidd and Nobby Stiles and Eric Harrison, who demanded that you did your best, you tried your best. You couldn't win every game. It's impossible to win every game, but you did everything you could to do to win a game of football. And it gets instilled in you in every way of life, that in your way of life, that you do your best. So you do your best as a player. How do you do your best? You're disciplined. You work hard, you train hard, you practice, and all those skills are transferable, I'm convinced, into other ways of life and other aspects of life, I suppose. So it's very important, like I say, that when you do finish playing, and it will happen, that you take what you've already learned and put them into something else that you enjoy doing.
Definitely, and I can second that. I echo those sentiments. I mean, I left because I wanted to leave, and I went into the property industry, still working in that within a tech company. But I've recently done a course similar to you, but in corporate governance, because I always had ambitions to, well, I say always, most recently had ambitions to get into the boardroom. And off the back of obviously going through that course and getting the qualifications needed, I've managed to secure 2 roles in a boardroom. So if I can do it, anyone can do it. You've done it. There's many others out there who've done it as well. So just wanted to put that across there, and really appreciate your time today. Enjoyed the chat. Obviously, keep up the good work. If you can, just let everyone know, obviously, where you're at and where we can find you with regards to social media. If you are on there, I'm not sure. But obviously, let us know where you're at, obviously, Salford, and anything else that you need to let us know about.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Obviously, we met on LinkedIn as well. We connected on there. Twitter. Those are the 2 main ones, really. They keep me busy enough as it is. So, yeah. I think especially LinkedIn's really, really insightful. There's a lot of good connections out there, and you get a lot of good information. So, yeah, you can follow me on there. Definitely, I'll always follow you back.
Awesome, 100%. Well, appreciate your time, and obviously, like I said before, keep up the good work and keep in touch.
Brilliant. Same to you. Thanks, Danny.
Thank you. Bye now.
Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye.